On a calm winter afternoon in January, tragedy struck the quiet Irish town of Tullamore. A young woman, out for her daily run along the Grand Canal, vanished, only to be later found brutally murdered in an act of violence that shocked the nation. Ashling Murphy was just 23 years old. Born in 1998, she grew up in the small town of Blueball, near Tullamore, in a close-knit, deeply musical family with strong Irish roots. From a young age, she displayed remarkable talents, excelling as both a gifted fiddle player and a promising sportswoman, particularly in camogie, the traditional Irish sport. After completing secondary school, where she was known as a strong student leader and role model, Ashling pursued a degree in education at Mary Immaculate College. There she thrived, nurturing her musical abilities while embracing college life with enthusiasm. Friends and mentors recall her passion, her dedication, and her ability to seize every opportunity. By late 2021, Ashling had earned her degree and secured her dream job as a first-grade teacher at Unsolved, a local primary school just a short drive from her family home. She quickly became a beloved figure in the community, known for her natural rapport with children and her ability to make learning fun. Everything pointed toward a bright and promising future, until January 12, 2022. That evening, after finishing her school day, Ashling set out for her usual jog along the Grand Canal. The peaceful setting, which had always been a place of solace and routine for her, became the backdrop for an unspeakable horror. Unbeknownst to her, unseen eyes lurked in the shadows. The precise details of what transpired in those harrowing moments may never be fully understood. What is certain, however, is that Ashling was suddenly attacked, overpowered, and brutally killed. The serene winter evening was shattered by an act of senseless violence that left a quiet community reeling in grief. As news of her murder spread, sorrow turned into a desperate search for answers. What could drive someone to commit such an atrocious act against an innocent young woman? The loss of Ashling Murphy left an irreplaceable void in the hearts of those who knew and loved her. Now let's go back and examine every excruciating detail of this crime that not only ended a promising young life, but devastated an entire town. On the afternoon of January 12, 2022, Ashling completed her workday at Scoil in Durrow, a small town approximately 8 kilometers northwest of Tullamore. Security footage captured her leaving the school at precisely 2:30 p.m., heading to her car, a red Seat Cordoba, parked in the lot. From there, she drove her usual route via the N52 highway to the Dunrow Road car park, a short distance from the Grand Canal. At 2:51 p.m., dressed in her usual workout attire, Ashling stepped out of her car and began her daily run along the picturesque towpath. Meanwhile, two of her colleagues, Jenna Stack and Oif Moran, were also walking along the canal when they noticed a suspicious-looking mountain bike partially concealed in the bushes. As they drew closer, the sound of rustling in the undergrowth caught their attention. What Jenna saw next would haunt her forever. Peering through the hedgerow, she witnessed a horrifying scene. A man crouched over a woman, violently restraining her as she struggled, her legs kicking desperately in a scissors-like motion. A chilling cry for help pierced the air. Realizing the woman was in grave danger, Jenna shouted at the attacker, warning him that she was calling the police. In a panic, she and Oif ran to seek help, their cries echoing through the once peaceful afternoon. Just moments later, two cyclists, Enda Malloy and Janusz Wilczek, came across Jenna and Oif. Distraught and pointing back the way they came, they wasted no time rushing to search for Ashling. But when they reached the adjacent ditch, the grim truth became devastatingly clear. Ashling's lifeless body lay amidst the thorny briars, her face obscured by matted hair and blood. Enda hurried to call for an ambulance, while Janusz attempted CPR, but it was already evident from her pale, motionless form that she was gone. Within minutes, a crowd of harassed onlookers had gathered, blocking the crime scene. Ambulances and Garda cars screeched to a halt. A post-mortem examination revealed that Ashling had suffered 11 stab wounds to the right side of her neck, severing her jugular veins and carotid artery. The savage attack had left her unable to cry out or make a sound. Yet, in the whirlwind of chaos, one crucial fact went unnoticed. Upon discovering Ashling's body, Enda had spotted something disturbing in the bushes nearby, a vividly colored mountain bike, partially hidden in the hedge. This bike would become the first key piece in the puzzle to identify her killer. In the aftermath, two teachers who risked their own safety to intervene would provide pivotal eyewitness statements. Meanwhile, Ashling's final moments were analyzed for any clues. It emerged that, after the initial attack, she had dragged herself slightly further along the path. Her Apple Watch, still functioning long enough to register her desperate fight for life, showed her heartbeat slowing to a halt. Data from Ashling's Fitbit smartwatch painted a tragic picture. Her attacker had viciously overpowered her, dragging her off the towpath and repeatedly stabbing her in the neck with a serrated blade. By 3:31 p.m., her smartwatch had ceased recording a heartbeat, the final haunting data point in this senseless and savage act. But in those frantic moments in the ditch, Ashling unknowingly left behind an even more vital clue: genetic material under her nails, which would later prove instrumental in convicting her murderer. The community, devastated by this unimaginable tragedy, was left grappling with overwhelming grief and the haunting mystery surrounding Ashling's final moments. The shadows cast by her killer's motives seemed to fall over the entire town, complicating the search for answers and justice. Her death left the community with haunting questions: who had killed her and why? The news of Ashling Murphy's tragic death rippled across Ireland and beyond, sparking an outpouring of grief and anguish. But nowhere was this loss felt more deeply than at her alma mater, Mary Immaculate College in Limerick, where she had recently graduated with a degree in teaching. Revered by her classmates and professors alike, the college community plunged into mourning at the senseless loss of a talented young woman with a bright future ahead. Candles and heartfelt tributes soon filled the grounds, as the institution she had called home honored her memory. As the nation searched in vain for answers, those closest to Ashling found no solace, only anguish and sorrow at the brutal, senseless crime that had cut her life short. Her death sparked a nationwide outpouring of grief, with communities coming together to honor Ashling's memory and support those grieving the devastating loss. The investigation into Ashling's murder had begun, but the shadows surrounding her killer's motives only seemed to deepen. As Ashling's family and friends mourned her senseless loss, the quest for answers and justice had only just begun. With the killer still on the loose, a massive investigation was underway to bring the perpetrator to justice before he could strike again. Working tirelessly, the Garda combed through thousands of hours of surveillance footage, piecing together the movements of everyone in the area that afternoon. Slowly, a clearer picture emerged, including unsettling images of a man in dark clothing, seemingly following and monitoring other lone females in the area. Was this man responsible for Ashling's brutal murder? In the immediate aftermath of Ashling Murphy's death, detectives launched a full-scale investigation, interviewing dozens of witnesses and combing the area for any clues that could lead to her killer. Within just 2 hours of her tragic death, police detained a 40-year-old man based on eyewitness descriptions. However, he was released the next day after being cleared of any involvement. As the investigation continued, Garda detectives identified another person of interest, a man reportedly receiving urgent medical treatment in a Dublin hospital for serious, unexplained injuries. Crucial forensic evidence had led to a major breakthrough. The police appealed to the public for information regarding a distinctive black and green Falcon Storm mountain bike, as well as a man in sportswear seen in CCTV footage. The relentless Garda investigation team seized 2 cars and removed a bottle bank near the crime scene, meticulously gathering every piece of evidence. They left no stone unturned. Through careful analysis of CCTV footage, they identified a potential suspect, a 31-year-old Slovak man named Josef Pusa. He was seen cycling in the area around the time of the attack, and his movements after the murder only deepened the mystery. Acting on a crucial tip, investigators tracked Pusa's movements from the village of Mloch to Dublin, where they eventually located him seeking medical treatment under suspicious circumstances. He claimed to have been attacked, but inconsistencies in his story, coupled with forensic evidence, soon made him the prime suspect. As the investigation unfolded, a chilling and complex picture began to take shape. The emergence of Józef Puska's actions in the hours leading up to Ashling Murphy's brutal murder painted a chilling picture. Witness testimonies and CCTV footage revealed a man who seemed to be deliberately targeting and stalking women in the area that fateful afternoon. Was this the very man whose hands were stained with Ashling Murphy's innocent blood? Lying injured in front of them, their suspect confined to a hospital bed, Garda interrogators saw their opportunity. Step by step, they dismantled Puska's far-fetched alibi, confronting him with undeniable proof only the real killer could know. His inconsistent accounts of his whereabouts and actions that day only further implicated him. After initially denying any involvement, cornered at last, Puska broke down in tears, confessing his darkest secret and begging his questioners to spare his family from the shame of his monstrous crime. Through the interpreter's translation, he confessed to the Garda that he had in fact murdered Ashling. In a chilling statement, he reportedly said, "I did it. I murdered. I am the murderer." On January 18th, the long-awaited breakthrough the Garda had been pursuing finally arrived. Puska was swiftly taken into custody at the Tullamore Garda station, where investigators moved to obtain crucial forensic samples, including fingerprints, DNA, and blood. Aware that they were closing in on their suspect, seasoned Garda interrogators pressed on. The prosecution would later present a mountain of forensic evidence linking Puska to the crime scene, including DNA found under Ashling's fingernails and on the murder weapon, a serrated knife. CCTV footage placed him cycling in the vicinity around the time of the attack. With the suspect formally charged, the case moved to the criminal courts for a trial to establish the truth. Brought before a special sitting of the Tullamore District Court, Puska faced a wall of public fury. A crowd of around 300 people had gathered, loudly heckling and jeering as Garda officers escorted him in and out of the building. Ashling's devastated family members were also present, holding framed pictures of their beloved daughter, whose life had been cruelly and senselessly taken. Justice moved swiftly in the aftermath of Ashling's murder. On April 25, 2022, the Central Criminal Court set Puska's trial for June 6, 2023. However, the prosecution needed additional time to respond to a defense expert report, leading to delays. The trial finally began on October 16, 2023, with Judge Tony Hunt presiding over a jury of 9 men and 3 women. From the start, Puska pleaded not guilty to the charge of Ashling Murphy's murder, setting the stage for a legal battle that would captivate the nation. The jury was tasked with reviewing a vast amount of evidence, including over 25,000 hours of CCTV footage meticulously analyzed by Garda detectives to reconstruct the movements of both Puska and Ashling on the day of the crime. Testimony also included data retrieved from Ashling's electronic devices, helping to piece together her final moments. One key piece of evidence was CCTV footage taken at 12:25 p.m. on January 12, 2022, showing Puska cycling from the nearby town of Macaw to Tullamore. He wore a distinctive black jacket and tracksuit bottoms with a white stripe, a Tommy Hilfiger logo, and rode a Falcon Storm mountain bike with bright green forks. Witness testimonies provided further insight into the events of that tragic day. Beta Barossa recalled how Puska had followed her in Tullamore that afternoon, cycling slowly behind her as she headed to the Tesco supermarket. Similarly, Marie Kelly described how Puska continued to pursue her, even as she took evasive routes along the muddy grass beside the Grand Canal. Eyewitnesses like Jenak and Afe provided harrowing accounts of witnessing Ashling's attack and its aftermath. Testimonies from Garda officers and emergency responders detailed the tragic sequence of events that unfolded during the trial. It was revealed that Puska was suspected of hiding in a ditch for approximately 4 hours after the crime. Witnesses testified that they saw an individual matching his description walking along various roads in the area after 8 p.m. Some witnesses reported seeing him crouch down or attempt to avoid being noticed. CCTV footage later captured Puska's arrival at the home of Rostislav Pakuda, a Slovakian national living in Tullamore since 2006. Pokuta, who knew Puška through his work as a school bus driver, described his appearance when he arrived at his home. He recalled Puška looking bruised, with a nearly blue face and wet clothing. Shaking and visibly injured, Pokuta used his son's gray Volkswagen Golf to drive Puška back to his home in Muka. Testimonies revealed that Puška admitted to asking someone in the household to burn the tracksuit and other clothes he had been wearing earlier that day. Later that night, CCTV footage captured Puška and his parents exiting a car outside their apartment building in Crumlin at 12:58 a.m. on January 13th, after being transported from Tullamore to Dublin. The following morning, Gardaí and paramedics responded to a reported stabbing incident at the same apartment building in Crumlin. A paramedic recalled encountering Puška in a bedroom of the apartment. He was shirtless, visibly in pain, with 3 non-fresh, non-bleeding stab wounds to his abdomen, along with numerous scratches on his face and arms. Puška claimed he had been stabbed in a fight in Blanchardstown, Dublin, the previous day. However, the scratches on his body, consistent with crawling through dense briars, raised suspicions among the Gardaí as they didn't align with his account. Believing there might be a connection to the Ashling Murphy murder investigation, Gardaí interviewed Puška at St. James's Hospital. It was during this interview that Puška ultimately confessed to killing her. During the trial, the jury was presented with compelling forensic evidence against Puška, including DNA profiles linking him to the crime scene. Forensic scientist John Hod testified that the chances of the DNA found on the bike handlebar belonging to anyone other than the accused were 1 in a billion. Additionally, male DNA discovered beneath Ashling's fingernails matched Puška's DNA, with a probability of 1 in 14,000, indicating a desperate struggle between Ashling and her attacker. In his defense, Puška claimed an unknown man wearing a surgical mask had stabbed him 3 times in the abdomen before murdering Ashling. He alleged that he tried to help Ashling with her injuries, but left the scene due to stress and fear. Puška also claimed not to remember confessing to the killing. The defense argued that Puška confessed after surgery while under the influence of oxycodone, which they claimed might have impacted his admissions. However, pharmacological expert Professor Michael Ryan testified that he had never heard of anyone confessing to murder after a small dose of oxycodone. The jury was reminded that Puška had already admitted to lying to Garda on multiple occasions. On November 9, 2023, after a trial lasting over 3 weeks, the jury deliberated for just 2 hours before returning a unanimous verdict of guilty. The judge expressed relief that the jury had not wasted more time considering Puška's defense, declaring, "We have evil in this room, no doubt about that." Puška was sentenced to life imprisonment. As the judge delivered the sentence, Ashling Murphy's mother quietly held up a photo of her beloved daughter in the courtroom. Friends and family members in the gallery applauded respectfully as the jury exited their box. Outside the courthouse, Ashling's brother Cathal thanked the jurors for their patience and resilience throughout the lengthy trial. While justice had been served, he acknowledged that it could not undo the tragedy or heal their ongoing grief. The true nature of Puška's motives remained unclear, as he had no known past relationship with Ashling. Authorities speculated that he may have been targeting women to carry out sexual assaults, and Ashling fought back, leading him to kill her in a fit of rage or panic. Yet, the dark psychology behind this brutal crime may never be fully understood. While the shadows of this darkness will linger, Ashling Murphy's memory lives on as a symbol of hope. Her story serves as a powerful reminder of both the fragility of life and the vital importance of creating a society where all people, regardless of gender, can safely enjoy freedom and security through unrelenting advocacy. May Ashling's legacy inspire generations to come in stemming violence and creating lasting change. Her light will guide us towards a future where no life is stolen through violence and where justice and compassion always prevail over fear and hatred. On November 17, 2023, the final reverberations of justice echoed through the Central Criminal Court in Dublin as Joseph Puška received his mandatory life sentence for the brutal murder of Ashling Murphy. The air was thick with a suffocating blend of grief, anger, and trauma as the weight of this unimaginable crime hung heavy over all present. Presiding over the case, Judge Tony Hunt made no attempt to hide his disgust and frustration toward Ireland's legal system limitations, noting that Pushka could be eligible for parole in just 12 years under current laws. The judge firmly believed judges should have the authority to set minimum terms for life sentences, as is allowed in many other jurisdictions. At this point, a Garda officer gently rose to read the gut-wrenching victim impact statements composed by Ashling's devastated loved ones. First, the trembling voice of Kathleen Murphy, Ashling's mother, cut through the silence. Her words were laced with the agony only a parent who has lost a child can comprehend. As a mother, you wish to see your child experience life to the fullest, Kathleen began, her voice quivering with palpable anguish. Yet, knowing their safety can never be guaranteed, you strive to protect them. I couldn't safeguard my darling Ashling, and now she is gone forever. She condemned Pushka as an evil monster who deserved to never see daylight again. In the months following the tragedy, new developments unfolded. Joseph Pushka was granted legal aid to appeal his conviction, prolonging Ashling's loved one's anguish. Meanwhile, Garda arrested 5 Slovakian nationals, including Pushka's wife and brothers, on charges of withholding information and impeding the investigation. Their scheduled April 2025 trials promised to keep the nation in turmoil. Though justice had been served, the pain and outrage over Ashling's senseless death would not fade. Her story endured as a rallying cry, catalyzing a crucial reckoning with life's fragility and society's duty to protect women. Ashling's memory continued to inspire activism and calls for change, fueling a movement for a world where women feel secure at all times. Ashling Murphy is forever remembered. Her tale will echo through history as a testament to life's transient nature and the tireless pursuit of justice. May her legacy guide humanity toward compassion and fairness for all, where no life is stolen as hers was in darkness. In the wake of this unimaginable tragedy, efforts to commemorate and preserve Ashling's legacy emerged as a grieving nation sought to honor her memory. Just before the first anniversary of her death, Ashling's family took the first steps in preserving her legacy by establishing the Ashling Murphy Memorial Fund, a registered charity dedicated to supporting traditional Irish arts, culture, and heritage for young people. In a collaborative effort, Mary Immaculate College and the Irish National Teachers Organization jointly established the Ashling Murphy Memorial Entrance Scholarship, awarded annually to a first-year Bachelor of Education student who exhibits exceptional achievement and talent in traditional Irish music, a fitting tribute to Ashling's own passion and virtuosity. The prominent Irish traditional music organization, Keela, also honored Ashling's memory by creating 3 scholarships, one to support artists working in traditional arts, another to foster musical education for young people, and a third to facilitate research into Irish traditional arts worldwide. Ashling's legacy was also celebrated as the GAA renamed its Collegiate Division 5 Cup to the Ashling Murphy Cup, describing it as a celebration of Ashling's life, her achievements, and the sport she played and loved. Officially, the GAA followed suit, renaming its Division 1 Cup the Ashling Murphy Memorial Cup. In the very place where Ashling's life was tragically cut short, a permanent memorial was constructed along the canal bank at Kapur, serving as a solemn reminder of the vibrant, talented young woman whose life was taken far too soon. Across Ireland, the outpouring of grief and determination to honor Ashling's memory manifested in countless other ways, from candlelit vigils and community gatherings to acts of artistic expression and unwavering calls for change, all united in the belief that Ashling's legacy must never be forgotten. Ashling Murphy's story has become a testament to the fragility of life and the unbreakable spirit of a community united in its pursuit of justice and compassion. Though the darkness of this tragedy will forever linger, the light of Ashling's memory continues to guide us toward a future where no life is ever snatched away, and where the traditional arts she cherished will forever flourish, a living tribute to the enduring power of her spirit. May she rest in peace. Thank you for joining us on this captivating exploration into the world of true crime. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Keep puzzling.